The second season of The Bear took the already amazing foundation that the show laid out and built up on it. By stepping out of the chaos of the kitchen, the show was able to breathe and leave more room for the characters to grow and shine. A lot has been said about the second season, in particular the breakout episodes Fishes and Forks, both excellent examples showcasing the Berzotto family and Richie respectively. But there is another episode from the season that I think also does this beautifully and is my favorite episode this season, so I want to talk about what makes the Copenhagen episode Honeydew so great. Let's do this. Before we get into the episode in question, I want to talk a bit about the series as a whole and what makes it work. The Bear hooks you in early with a few things. One of the main things that I would say ties all of the other elements together is the intensity. Right from the pilot, the show highlights the high-octane workspace that is a professional kitchen. The constant cutting between multiple layers of plot and conversation that are constantly interrupting each other, with shots of intense chopping, this perfectly balanced chaos that never completely overwhelms the viewers to the point that they can't keep watching, but does allow us to feel it. The intensity of the chaotic kitchen is also a mirror to the chaotic dynamics of the characters whose conflicts are constantly bouncing off of each other. Early on, Richie and Carmy do not see eye to eye on how to run the beef, and because of the chaos of the kitchen and just trying to keep the restaurant afloat, they can't take the time to resolve things. The conflicts stay there, adding to the chaos. But that chaos is not the entire show. The creatives understand the importance of ebb and flow in their episodes, both in terms of the technical side and the story side. When scenes slow down, that gives us a deeper look into the characters and their own introspection. We see their inner workings and, as the story progresses, their growth. The first season is about chaos with introspection, and the second season flips that, giving us a show about introspection with chaos. And by that, I don't mean that the season isn't chaotic, because it absolutely can be. I just feel that season 1 led with those moments, while season 2 does not. Even quicker cut editing feels less chaotic, like when Sydney is visualizing dishes, it reinterprets the show's visual language to suit the needs of the season's direction. This season is about character growth, both in positive and negative ways, though mostly positive, and is about deepening our understanding of these characters and their journey. As I said, Fishes and Forks are the breakout episodes of the season. Both of them, like Honeydew, that I swear I'm getting to, break away from the overall arc of the season to spotlight individual stories. Fishes is the most jarring, stepping away from everything in an extended flashback episode, both to help us understand the dysfunction at the core of the Berzotto family, and to set up another emotional gut punch in the season finale. Forks is taking Richie on a sort of hero's journey, growing him as a collaborator and giving him the confidence and purpose that he has been missing in his life since Mikey died. It's such a beautiful episode, honestly. And they work in tandem. Forks is the episode right after Fishes and gives us as the audience the positive boost we need after the downer that came before it. Forks is even structured that way, starting low so we can build up to a triumphant climax. And it doesn't end on him regaining his confidence, but with the guidance of Olivia Colman's Chef Terry, the importance and beauty in caring about the little things and to appreciate them. That lesson is also taught to us in Honeydew in its own way. It feels like this episode and Forks are in conversation with each other. To talk about Honeydew, we need to talk about where Marcus is at this point in the story. Copenhagen. He's in Copenhagen. But seriously, his character has gone through a lot already by this episode, so let's talk about it. Marcus, like most of the original Beef crew, didn't take Carmy and his changes seriously at first, but he was the first person to warm up to him. That makes it thematically relevant that Honeydew is in the front half of the season, mirroring how he was early on Team Bear. But Carmy's encouragement is what made Marcus hyper-focus so bad, leading to Carmy's meltdown in episode 7 of the first season. And I know that wasn't the only reason. The show is beautifully layered, so many elements pile on top of each other and all come together at once.
Plot lasagna.
So, by the time we get to Honeydew, Marcus is in a place where he needs to, in the story and in his life, learn balance. Something that he does do. Side note, I have a theory that the main cast members, or main characters technically, of The Bear are on journeys of growth and discovery that mirror the things that Carmy needs to be learning in his life, but at current time isn't. I have a chart, so let me know if you want that video. And we do get to see Marcus enjoying himself as he experiences Denmark in what is clearly his first time leaving Chicago. So while yes, a lot is dedicated to food tourism that can be related to his work, it doesn't feel like work. Compare it to Sydney hitting up spots across Chicago in a previous episode this season. Her sequence is about creative problem solving and inspiration, but nothing about it feels relaxing. It doesn't have that same chaotic energy as other sequences in the show, but it does use that quick cutting to convey a lot of information in a small amount of time. Montages in Honeydew, by contrast, are much more slower moving, capturing a much more relaxing, almost vacation vibe to it. This lets us in on how Marcus is experiencing his time abroad. I've been to Denmark about 8 years and 4 or 5 hairstyles ago, and I gotta say, those hot dogs just hit different. Marcus knows what's up there. Now, I want to talk about Marcus's mother in this episode, but before I do, I think we need to talk about the mentor in this episode, Will Poulter's character Luca. Unlike in Forks, where Richie is learning different things from several people, Marcus is only learning from Luca, something that makes sense. All Marcus is there to learn is dessert making for high-level dining, so a single teacher to focus on makes sense. Richie, on the other hand, has to learn not only the high-end customer experience, but how to love himself in this world, a point that is made more strongly by surrounding him with a community that learns to appreciate him for who he is. Again, let me know if I should make that other video. Luca is a great character to teach Marcus because he has that perfectionist quality that Carmy does, but with a much less aggressive side. We see him being stern in his teachings, but with a level-headedness that an instructor needs. Carmy could not have the patience needed for these scenes. I also love that we see Luca and Marcus connecting and being open with each other as the episode progresses. We don't have a fixed timeline here, so seeing them go from being strangers, only talking about the lesson at hand, to 2 guys just having a chat while working, helps clarify the nebulous way time is passing in the story. I also want to bring up how this episode drops in the every second counts through line of the season. We see the sign hung up in the kitchen, but we don't address it head on or draw too much attention to it. We feel the ethos of it in all of the lessons Luca teaches Marcus, but we save that story for Olivia Colman to tell us in Forks. I keep bringing up Forks in part because it was one of the most popular episodes of the season, and also because, like I already said, it feels like these two are in direct conversation with each other. In the obvious way, since they are both solo episodes condensing character arcs, but also because they are telling a wider story together. When Luca is telling us his story in Honeydew, we know he's talking about Carmy, but it isn't confirmed directly until we see the picture of them together in Forks. From these connected moments, we get a further understanding of how Carmy learned his positive traits in the same way Fishes and the flashbacks with Joel McHale's character shows us where he picked up his negative ones and his trauma. Also worth pointing out that every good thing Luca brings up about himself and his life here, the things that make him happy, are the things Carmy does not do or does not have in his life.
No, I think at a certain stage it becomes less about skill and it's more about being open.
Carmy isn't open.
To the world, to yourself, to other people.
Carmy's not open to any of that.
You can spend all the time in the world in here, but if you don't spend enough time out there...
Carmy doesn't think he should spend time in the real world.
Helps to have good people around you too.
Carmy cuts people out. These are examples of how the bear understands that the point of a scene isn't just to tell us what's going on in a scene, but to paint a larger picture. I cannot emphasize enough how well this show handles its serialized storytelling while still handling its episodic elements so well. The Bear is exactly the kind of show I think would thrive on weekly releases, despite it being a show that is dumped all at once. Not that it's not doing well as is, because obviously it's doing great. The point I'm getting at here is when Marcus gets his own every second counts sign sent to him by Luca in the finale, it holds so much more weight to it because we know how much that mantra means not just to a single character, but several members of our main cast and some of our favorite guest stars as well. It is a high point for Marcus after a turbulent first service. It also helps make the following moment, where we see all the missed calls and texts about his mom, hit harder. The first time you see Honeydew, Marcus's mother feels like a ticking time bomb under the table.
Now take the same scene and tell the audience there is a bomb under that table and will go off in 5 minutes. Well, the whole emotion of the audience is totally different because you've given them that information.
We know how hard it would hit Marcus for his mom to pass while he's overseas and can't be with her. And every time we see him enjoying himself, we worry that this will be the moment the other shoe drops. But then the episode ends, and it doesn't. The closest we get to that is when Marcus, on a call with Sydney, admits to the thought of that happening waking him up at night. I'm going to talk about that call some more, but before that, let's discuss why the show didn't do anything with Marcus's mom while he was away.
The bomb must never go off.
I think it comes down to two things. The first is knowing that delaying that hit to the end of the season for us in the audience, or the next season for Marcus, will hit harder than doing so in Honeydew. It comes back to the way the show has mastered setup and payoff across a season. The other is letting Honeydew be a win for Marcus. While it would be a punch in the gut if something were to happen to his mother in that episode, that's all the episode would have become. All that growth would have been overshadowed by that moment. It's also why the episode becomes better when you rewatch it. You're no longer sitting there worried when we get that gut punch, so we can appreciate the calm nature of the episode even more. Especially when you factor in that between his mother's illness, playing football in college, and then working at the Beef, this is probably the calmest, most contemplative time in Marcus's life. Also, I have to bring up Forks one last time. I know, I can't stop. I love that the tone of both of these episodes reflects the characters they follow. Honeydew is quiet and takes its time, like the soft-spoken Marcus, in the same way that the more fast-moving Forks reflects the more chaotic Richie. Okay, I'm done bringing up Forks. This entire season is just so good. Okay, so that call with Sydney. Obviously, it is building off the chemistry that the two characters displayed in the finale of season 1, and sets up the rejection later on, but it is more than that. After all, like I said, the Bear is always doing things both structurally for the season and for the characters. This scene comes near the end of the episode and is Marcus reflecting on how he needs to have something more in his life than just the work he does in the kitchen and taking care of his mother, and thinks a relationship with Sydney could be that thing. Now, this is obviously speculation on my part, but everything I see in this episode, in particular his conversation with Luca, points to that need of balance in life, so I think that makes sense. While we talk about speculation in this episode, I think we have to talk about the man on the bike. In a scene that feels out of left field, Marcus finds a cyclist pinned under a collapsed fence while on his way home. Marcus obviously helps the cyclist, who after thanking him, rides off into the night. The scene is a sort of dramatic climax for the episode, being a step up in intensity from the rest. Because of that, I link Marcus's dramatic through line with his mother to this, which goes unresolved in the episode. So, if I'm looking at this moment as being a metaphor for Marcus and his mother, and the episode is about Marcus learning and growing, what does this become a lesson of? I would say that Marcus, seeing the cyclist, who is a little bit worse for wear, get back on the bike and ride off, is a symbol for how after his mom will eventually pass, he will have to keep on living. In the wake of tragedy, Marcus will have to learn to get back on the bike. And it won't be easy. A bit of a heavier point to end on, but this is where I'm going to wrap it up. I said up top that what makes the bear, ties it all together, is its intensity. And while I do still think that that is true of what catches viewers early on, I think in this video I've proven that what the bear really is a perfectly balanced blend of so many different elements, these different ingredients that are all excellent on their own, but put together, they make the perfect dish. Or some other food metaphor, whatever. Thank you so much for watching. This episode of The Bear means so much to me for so many reasons because of its messaging, Marcus being one of my favorite characters, and seeing them send him to Copenhagen, one of the best places I've ever traveled to. Hell, they even put in a Brian Eno track just for me. Shout out to my partner, she gave me a lot of feedback on the script for this one. She's seen The Bear more times than anyone I know. She just keeps rewatching it. Anyways, like and subscribe if you want to help the channel out. Become a member if you're feeling extra generous. And until next time, have a good one.